Hey everyone, today we are in Illinois. It's a nice day, about 50 degrees. Right over this levee is the Ohio River, which must flood. There's a lot of levees around here, and if it did flood, like at the end of this road, there's slots in the concrete where you could put a gate in there to stop the water. Well, it says no trespassing on the levee. I have no idea why they don't want you going over it to the river. Makes no sense to me. Maybe they just don't want to be liable for you falling into a sinkhole because it looks like you got a pretty big sinkhole that's about to open up right here, I'm now realizing. Scary stuff. It's a big hollow spot right there. But we're not going to go on the levee. I think we're going to technically look underneath the levee because I realized this really cool trash rack to stop debris. You can tell they really recently dug this out. I wouldn't attempt driving down here because this mud could be slippery. I don't want the chance of just getting stuck down here. I don't know how much I would sink into it. Probably wouldn't get stuck, but we're not technically on the levee. We're going down because I suspect if there's a culvert right here taking this small stream, then there must be an incredible, massive one-way valve. Typically there'll be a giant flapper like this where the water can push it open, but if there was a flood it would lock so water can't come back this way. I'm not sure, because wouldn't this area eventually flood from the stream? But then there's a different type of backflow system, which is this large slot made of rubber that kind of opens up when there's pressure and then it shuts if it was to go in the other direction. Well, I just want to take a little peek inside these culverts and see if we can see any kind of structure like that. We probably won't be able to see that, but I've never seen a trash rack this big, and there seems to be one of these like every other mile here, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. The water's very murky from all the dirt roads around here, farmlands draining into this. A bunch of the bars down there are twisted when they were grabbing stuff with excavators. That, I don't know, that might be galvanized metal. I think it is. So that must have got hit pretty hard. I just want to take a peek in these pipes. Not what I thought. I expected to find a big metal pipe for some reason. They already got a little dam of debris, and look at that big pile of suds from organic material. Maybe cow manure and rotting leaves is producing that. I don't see any sort of flood protection in there. Although it looks like there might be something. Look at the ceiling of the culvert right there. See the ceiling way down there? There might be some sort of hinge. There might be some sort of door that they have wide open right now, and they might be able to manually or electronically shut all these during a flood. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. And this pipe might be very slippery, and as you go deeper into a culvert, it might get faster, the water, where I could slip in there. Because I kind of want to walk all the way through there with my big boots. It's unfortunate we can't just walk over the top. Although, I think maybe we will walk over the top. The no trespassing sign's like 2 miles away at the end of the levee. So, and I also turned around. So, who's to say that I even saw the sign if they're placing them 2 miles apart? In fact, these signs are so far apart, I'm pretty sure that would even classify as a sign violation. I think you need to have a no trespassing sign every 200 feet. Something like that. Definitely not 2 miles. So I think we're gonna walk over here right above the pipe and maybe walk right over. Walking through this wet grass is nice. It can help pull some of that sticky peanut butter like mud off of my boots. Yeah, just like that. There's still a ton of it. The mud around here is like a clay. It really sticks to me, yeah. When I turned around about 5 minutes ago, it stuck to my tires like crazy because I made a little loop. I threw mud all over the road, and my vehicle felt off balance for a little bit. Yeah, there's another one, a little smaller one there. A little drainage ditch made out of concrete. Trying to drag my feet and get all that off before I get back in the vehicle. Oh, this is cool. I didn't expect to see this. We're not going to go out there because there's a gate, but the measurements here, it's really cool to see all these measuring sticks. That's packed in there. It's packed in there like a really stubborn dog poop you stepped in. Looks like we got a bunch of poison ivy on the hill. I want to see what kind of device they have down here. Yeah, this is interesting. They don't even have a no trespassing sign at this structure. But they have one at the end of the levee. So this goes down to the Ohio River. So what we got here looks like, yep, I knew there was some sort of structure like this. Hey, is that one shut? Is that other culvert completely backed up? I didn't even notice that. This one's shut. I guess they don't need them both open now. But looking down, this is what we saw on the ceiling of it. The door is like 2 inches into the pipe. So yeah, that is what I was seeing. So it appears to be a manual valve. So they'd have to physically send someone out. But I guess a manual one is probably better to have because who knows, in an emergency, if the electronics will even go through. Although it would probably send a signal back to them, because once it closes, it would probably hit some sort of sensor to send a signal back showing that it's in the closed position. And there's another one right down there. This is interesting infrastructure. These are places that historically the Ohio River would flood all this land every spring thaw or big rainstorm. But they have these massive levees everywhere to protect low-lying land, neighborhoods, mostly farms. This is some cool stuff. So yeah, that other gate's shut. So definitely that pipe with the angle it's at is definitely mostly flooded back. This is cool. I'm glad I stopped. And I'm not quite sure why they don't want people walking up here. This is like a perfect spot to go for a hike, walk a dog. But then again, the no trespassing is only at the end of it. Maybe that's, it doesn't say this, but maybe they don't want a vehicle ending up here. Maybe that's what it is. But definitely looks manual. I don't see anything there that would be automatic or something that would get a signal sent to it. Nothing like that. But they've been doing a lot of drainage ditch work. I see excavators out here past couple of days along the roads, digging brand new, fresh ditches everywhere, which is cool to see. My area doesn't have levees like this. They exist, smaller ones, and they even do drills, and they show on the news. They make sure the Department of Public Works at a moment's notice knows how to come out and install all the locks in the roads. We'll show that in a moment. Maybe I should use non-stick cooking grease or something on my boots before I enter these sticky mud areas. What do you think in the comments? Would that help? Maybe that would make a bigger mess inside my truck. It's a lot easier to clean mud off the floor mats than it would be oil like that. I'm just letting a big truck go by so I can drive slow and show things. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was taught if there's heavy, wet snow, spray your snow shovels or the insides of the chutes of snow blowers with non-stick cooking oil grease. It actually works. When the machine's dry, apply it, then heavy, wet snow can't stick to it. I wonder if that would apply for mud. That'd be a cool experiment to try, and maybe a short video sometime. Go stepping in this sticky. Oh. Whoa. We just made a mess of the road like a tractor pulling out of a field. Yeah, that is very sticky mud. We don't get mud that sticky up in Maine. No, we don't. That's cool. That's always fun, pulling off, flicking mud everywhere like that. It's fun. And it's supposed to be rainy out, so the rain will wash whatever I just flung up that's on the vehicle too. So these are very big levees. This goes quite a distance in both directions. We're about to hit a break point in it where the road goes through, where they would put in locks. They put basically floodgates up. Here it is. When you're going in a straight line with these wide open fields, it takes forever to get to your vantage point. Yesterday I drove for hours. It was nothing but farms. No, not even towns or gas stations, just a farmer's house every now and then. Yeah, these massive farms, just huge commercial farms where there's not many buildings around. One massive tractor will do it all. Here's the no trespassing sign right at the ends, which is probably to stop a vehicle, but it doesn't say that. And right here's a tiny little floodgate. Some of them are really tall. It depends on the positioning of the road. But the road's already pretty high up. So it looks like everything on the right, those fields would be flooded, and everything on the left would not be. But now that we're on this side of the levee, everything here is going to be flooded. This road's going to be underwater if that ever happens. And around here, yeah, there's houses and stuff that would be flooded out down here. Now some of these things, I don't know how it works around here in Illinois, but I know in my area there are some flood levees. We don't have big ones like this, but there's some of them that were created after floods like 100 years ago, and those floods amazingly haven't even happened since. They haven't had to use them. So on the news I always hear about these massive floods that we had recently, but they're nothing compared to like some that are super historical, because we don't even have to use some of this infrastructure that exists. I think we use it as precaution, but it didn't actually hold back anything. When I lived in Massachusetts, there was these gigantic ones along the Connecticut River, and they're from like a flood that was about 100 years ago, and it never happened since. Maybe it never happened since, because I know there's a lot of on the Connecticut River retention reservoirs that would stop a flood and hold it back, and then slowly release it on a dry day so it doesn't cause issues. Like that area in Massachusetts with the triangular trash rack, that's a flood prevention reservoir technically. It displaced the beavers, and it left a mark on every single tree as far as the eye could see. You could see the water line. They left it flooded for 2 months with the road like 8 feet underwater, and that prevented the rivers downstream from swelling and overflowing their banks. So a lot of levees don't even need to be used because of those flood retention reservoirs. I don't know if that's a thing out here, Out here, I would think that's less likely to be a thing because the land is so flat. To build nice dams, you need a lot of elevation from big dams everywhere. You can't really build a deep dam when it's flat like this. South is pretty flat. Great for gas mileage, though. And gas out here is cheap. In the middle of the country, gas is cheap. It's like $2.40. Back in my area, it's like $3.20. Gas is real cheap here in the middle of the country. Places like Alabama, Mississippi, fuel's unbelievably cheap here. Maybe it's because they're close to all those refineries in places like Texas. That's what I would assume why it's cheaper here. But then there's certain places that just doesn't make sense. Like on my trip down to the south this December and November, I realized the most expensive gas price I saw anywhere was Key West. Makes sense. Makes sense. But also, before going to the Midwest, Key Largo now had the cheapest gas price on the whole East Coast before we came here into the middle of the country. So that didn't make sense to me at all, how a place that's isolated like the Keys, you know, they have to drive all the way out there with these trucks, had both the cheapest and the highest gas price. That was unusual. It makes sense that it would be really expensive all the way out there on Key West, but it didn't really make sense why it was so cheap in Key Largo. That's still the bottom of the peninsula, but it was. When I mean cheap, it was like $2.80. Key West was